50 States of Terror may include content unsuitable for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Content warnings will be included in the show notes. This is Oklahoma, the Sooner State. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of 50 States of Terror. First, let me apologize. I was supposed to have a guest come on and do the show with me, but things got jumbled up, schedules got mixed up, people got sick. I had a family emergency. A very important member of our family had passed away, and had to deal with that. So there's a lot going on, and I hope to have Marcos on the show for the next week, for the next show. But things happen, and we still love you, Marcos, and hopefully soon you'll be able to come over and record on my fancy equipment that I have. I've never actually told the show or on this show what I used to record. So why not? We'll do a little talking before the episode. So while I'm recording in my bedroom, I record on a bunch of Blue microphone products. So I have Logitech everywhere, but I have a Blue Yeti, and it goes into I use Adobe Audition for editing and recording. And when I have guests on, I use Rode. I have a Rode a Podcaster Pro 2. I have Rode mics. Everything just seems to blend together perfectly when you use the same type of product. I do eventually want to get like a full studio setup where I have like the professional mixers, and even you don't even really need mixers when you're doing this stuff. Like I can just primarily just use Rode, but there are different mics that I think that sound just a little bit better. There's Beacon, and the Beacon mic is pretty awesome. They Shure makes a mic as well, but I've been so accustomed with how to use Blue Yetis and Rhodes that I just kind of like fell in love with them. And I'm the type of person who if I like a product and I like a certain brand, then I would just keep on using that brand. There are maybe one or two other ones that are just way beyond my price range, but eventually, hopefully, I'll get to that. Wishing I have the funds to have a professional, recording studio where I can have multiple camera angles and mics and things. Which reminds me, I was on a episode recently of Corpus Christi Originals. Shout out to Jesus for having me on with some friends of the podcast, and we all just sat down for 2 hours and we just talked, and it was a cool episode. It was a word that kept on being passed around. It was fascinating, but it was fun. You can check out Corpus Christi Originals. Google it on YouTube. I think he just hit 1,000 subscribers, so congratulations, man. That show and the way it's produced and the way it's presented, it's gonna go far, and I wish them the best. But yeah, see what else is going on. Summer is almost over. We have like 4 weeks maybe until school starts again, and then it's the rush of being a parent of a school-aged children, and pick up, drop offs, and all that good stuff. Let's see what else. I might be. Hopefully, we'll see. But I guess I have to put it into the universe, right, to make sure somebody listens. I might be uh moving, not like tomorrow, but I'm hoping to get this job in a different city in Texas, and hopefully, we can just kind of like start fresh and new in a different city, and I don't know, it kind of makes me nervous and anxious and all the things when you're talking about uprooting a family and moving to a different city because you have a job, and the job is pays more, and it's basically my dream job of having, and hopefully we'll see how this pans out. For those who are still following the show on Patreon and our subscribers, I truly do appreciate your patience with me as I continue to try to fumble my way in this process as called content creation. I'm toying with the idea of doing live streams and live interviews and YouTube videos. It's just extremely time consuming when you have a 9 to 5 and then trying to do something like this as not even like a side hustle, because this show doesn't make money, and I would like for it to make money, and anybody out there who wants to sponsor the show or who wants to throw some money my way through donation on Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon for support, you're more than welcome to. I would truly appreciate it. It helps keep everything on. But the fact that the show doesn't make money, and primarily it's just done for fun, but it takes a lot of time in order to do these things. And one of these days I will have the ability to put out YouTube videos. I'm still learning a lot about the process, so I'm keeping it very simple first. I've been doing this for 3 years. I've been guest spots on different shows, and the talking through the mic thing is getting easier, as I'm not great at it. I'm not perfect at this, but eventually I'll get to the point to where I can start having a live video feed of the show, and it just goes from there, because one of these days I will like to have this as a moneymaker. And yeah, I'm excited for the future for this. Excuse me. If you hear the fan of my laptop going crazy, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's an Asus gaming laptop tough F15, and the fan has been just blowing nonstop, and it gets super loud, and I'm guessing I have to take it apart in the back and maybe clean out the fan a little bit. Maybe there's some dust debris in there. I don't know. The last time I had it open, I added more memory and I added another hard drive into it, and I didn't even think about looking at the fan, but I should probably do that, because I really like this laptop and I really like Asus. This is the first Asus I've had. Normally, I've been so loyal to HP for so long that when I got my first gaming laptop, and I got this at a pawn shop, Asus gaming laptop at a pawn shop for super cheap. I mean, it wasn't super cheap, but I was able to make payments on it. I'll put it on layaway, and it works well. I like the way it operates. One of these days I'll hopefully be able to get a Corsair, because those PC games, those towers are just phenomenal, man. But those are so expensive, incredibly expensive. But man, do I would love to have a Corsair. But anyway, let's get into Oklahoma. Now, I have been to Oklahoma a handful of times. Normally, it's through driving through the state, and sometimes I would stay over Oklahoma. When I was in the Marines, and I would travel through duty stations, or when I would go home on leave or something, and I would drive back home to Texas from either California or North Carolina. I would always, take, maybe sometimes I would take new routes, and it would hit me through Oklahoma. And when I'm coming home East Coast wise, the halfway point is usually maybe Tennessee. So I'll probably stop at maybe Nashville or something. And sometimes I would go through Oklahoma. And I stayed in Oklahoma a handful of times. And I gotta say, I dig the state. It's some of it is just gorgeous lands. I don't know about traveling over there for maybe a major game. I would love to go to a major sporting event in Oklahoma. I'm not a Sooner fan, so I mean I'm Notre Dame baby. So, but sorry Oklahoma, but I would love to see the sights of more sights of Oklahoma. And honestly, if anybody wants to take me to an Oklahoma game, I'll be more than happy to go. But sorry, I'm going to have to probably wear my Notre Dame green while I'm there. Let's see. So let's get into facts about Oklahoma. If you hear some clicky clicks, it's because I am pulling stuff to my other screen. So here we go. So Oklahoma. Before being admitted to the Union on November 16th, 1907, large portions of what is now Oklahoma was divided into regions from 1834 to 1907 and was known as Indian Territory, with territorial holdings such as Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole, along with other displaced eastern indigenous tribes moving west or forced westward from European conflicts or forced uprooting. Before this, it was preceded by the Missouri Territory, Greer County, and Texas. Events that led from the American Revolution included buying and occupying land in the form of treaties from European nations like the French, such as the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Now, this marked lands west of the Mississippi River as a place to resettle Native Americans. Hence the Indian Removal Act of 1830 brought by President Andrew Jackson. So let's just clarify a whole lot of stuff. So post-American Revolution, you have people coming in and moving westward. Now, with all of the conflicts and wars that were happening with the indigenous peoples and the settlers, Andrew Jackson thought it would be a great idea to have the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which pretty much had a dividing line of the Mississippi River. So people east of the river could live in peace, and people west of the river were lands that was dedicated for indigenous peoples. Excuse me. Now, we know this as what I said earlier, as the quote-unquote Indian Territory from 1834 to 1907. So that's where we're at right now. We are now towards the end of the American Indian Wars, and now west-moving homesteaders could petition Congress for territories, which started new territories such as Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and Dakota, further depleting reserved lands once settled for American indigenous peoples. So, when settlers wanted to uproot and go west, they can petition Congress to have lands that was dedicated for American Indians, Native Americans, and petition Congress for them to have control of that land. And this is how we got Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and Dakota territories. Okay? So keep that in mind. This is a very large summary of an incredible amount of history that is occurring in a very short amount of time. So what I'm trying to get at is from the end of the American Revolution to 1907, when Oklahoma became a state, you had a handful of conflicts and wars amongst the European settlers and the indigenous peoples of America. Now, this was going on for it was an incredible amount of history that occurred within what is that 60 years. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal to think about. It's an incredible, mind blowing thing that had occurred. But let's go on with modern day Oklahoma. So the capital of Oklahoma City, the capital is Oklahoma City. The official language of Oklahoma is, interestingly enough, English, Choctaw, and Cherokee. And I think this is the first state that we've done that their official language notably was something different than English, which was very, very interesting. So that's Oklahoma. Now, let's move into the first cryptid. I didn't mention which ones we're doing today. We're doing the Oklahoma octopus, the Ishkitini. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say that right. The Ishkitini. The Ishkitini. There you go. The Ishkitini. The Ishkitini. Okay. If I say it 3 times, hopefully I'll get it right. The Ishkitini. The Ishkitini. Okay. And it is weird to say it too, because I'll mention this later, but the lore of the Ishkitini is that you're not supposed to even say the word because it follows the same rules as that should not be named. And the Thunderbird. That's the last one we're going to do. And these are three very small ones. They're not a whole lot of lore to explore. Mainly because, except for the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird has an incredible amount of lore into it, and a lot of stories. But to combine it into an episode, I'm not going to make this an hour long. But I encourage you to go and research this on your own on either YouTube or something like that. So let's go with the Oklahoma octopus. The Oklahoma octopus is located in the 3 lakes in Oklahoma: Lake Thunderbird, Lake Oologah, and Lake Tenkiller. Let's see. And in this lake lives a giant aquatic monster known as the Oklahoma octopus. It is said to be the size of a horse and has leathery, reddish brown skin. Now, reddish brown skin is a normal color for an octopus, and the size of it being a horse suggests that it's a much larger, like giant or colossus octopus that you would find in the ocean. Now, no physical evidence exists in the form of photos or videos, but there have been a number of sightings saying that lake goers see the creature beneath them while they're swimming or boating. And large numbers of unexplained drownings have been said to be from the octopus pulling them under the lake's surface. Now, the existence of an octopus in freshwater lake may be from quick adaptations or quick evolution cycles, according to some, researchers or cryptozoologists, because octopus don't live in freshwater; they live in salt water. They live in the ocean. Now, is it possible for some creatures to survive in who the primarily what am I trying to say? Their residence or their habitat. There you go. Habitat is the ocean. And can they survive in lakes? I don't 100% know that every single one of them can do that, but we do know that some are able to survive in freshwater for an extended period of time. The thing about this is it's there's nothing like extravagant about this story of the octopus besides it being an octopus in the lake that's the size of a horse. There's nothing more to this. There's no it doesn't have like a I don't know like a serpent's back or tail or something. It's just a giant octopus that lives in the lake. Unfortunately, there are no photos or videos to further explain any of this, or to even like note if it's being a hoax or not. It is said that this is contributing to a large unexplained number of drownings in the lake. But then again, if you were on the lake and you were I don't know, maybe you were doing something you're not supposed to do, and then unfortunately you just fall in the water and you can't find the person that fell and went beneath the surface. It's like one of those things to where if this was the 1800s or something, immediately you would say, oh, it's too late because the octopus has them, or it's too late because the monster has them, or it's too late because of this. So what I'm trying to get is that I think this may be a deterrent. It's one of those things that you tell people to stay away from an area because of this creature. Much like the wolf woman of Alabama would, when it was used as a deterrent to stay away. It might have been used for a deterrent for people to stay away from the area. Or the slidewalk bolter is another one from Colorado. It's a made up fabrication to have people stay away from an area because they were doing illegal shit. This could fall under the same thing. I would love to imagine, or I would love to believe that there is a giant octopus living in freshwater lakes, but the whole thing about it is it's highly unlikely. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, but I don't know. I personally would love. I love the story. I'm on the fence on this one, on 50-50 on it being out there in Oklahoma. But that's just me. That's just me. And I'm one of those people who likes to believe it at first. But the fact that no one has a photo or no one has a video, and I'm sure people have deep dive down there. I'm sure people have scuba dive down there and try to locate it. And octopusi. What's the plural of octopus? They can be elusive. They can be really hard to locate. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that is, I'm on the fence on this one, 50-50. But yeah, tell me what you think. Allow this to be an opportunity for me to plug the stuff that's already out there. If you follow the show, feel free to send me an email and message the show or comment on Facebook or on Instagram or Twitter or wherever I'm at, and give your 2 cents. And maybe you have a story you want to tell about it, and I'll gladly put it on air. Hell yeah. Because I want interaction. I want that next step in this, and the next step is getting people to be interactive with, with what I'm talking about, with the subject matter. And if you're from Oklahoma and you know for sure it's there, I want to hear about it. Hell yeah. Okay. So let's do the next one. This one is the Ishkitini. I messed it up again. The Ishkitini. This one is fascinating because this has a correlation between a Mexican folklore that we're going to explore later on, in the middle of this one. So let's just get into it. This creature is classified as a shapeshifter. Much like other shapeshifters, this creature shapeshifts in the night hours into a horned owl. And not like a giant horned owl, just a regular size, what you would see in nature, a horned owl. Now, this creature comes from Choctaw mythology and lore. It prowled at night hunting men and animals. Like other creatures in indigenous lore and mythology, the owl has been a symbol on both sides of the spectrum as good and evil. In this case, like the Mothman, when you see it, it foretells misfortune. Now, this has similar attributes and things such as the Lechuza. And if you don't know what the Lechuza is a Mexican folklore of a witch that transforms into an owl. The difference between this and the Ishkitini is the Lechuza is like seven feet tall and still has the face of a woman, of a witch woman. And every time somebody mentions the Lechuza, I always revert back in my head of this YouTube video in like deep Mexico, and they're in a church, in an old, it has to be Catholic church, and when this giant, it's a huge owl, and this owl flies in and kind of just like stares at the musicians who are in the church, and the musicians are frantically playing music to try to shoo it away, and it doesn't move, and you can see the fear in the faces and the eyes and of these musicians inside the church, and it is incredible to witness, while you're watching this, because in the back of your mind you're thinking, okay, oh well, all of this is just it's an owl, and it's funny too because the owl is kind of like bobbing its head to the music too, but in the culture, you're trying to dismiss the Lechuza, and it won't budge, it won't leave, and it's a creepy video to watch, but back to the Ishkitini. So the interesting thing that how it follows from indigenous people's folklore and mythology into Mexican folklore and mythology is very awesome when you think about like the evolution of what it could have been and the evolution of what it is now. But the thing about it is like this thing is it's just a small little regular owl, and it's said that if you hear its screech or its owl whistle, then it's pretty much doomed for you. That's the mythology. That's where it comes. That's where the sign of misfortune comes from. And I really wanted to do more on the Ishkitini, but they had a couple books, and none of them were available for free. None of them were available online. I tried super hard to see if I can get some books from the library, because I have a library card, and I tried super hard to see if I can get some books to do my research on this one. But I couldn't find anything, and most of them that I found on Amazon or anything else, it was for a couple bucks, and it just wasn't in the budget to buy the books. But again, this one is a fantastic one to research. And what's funny is I really like owls. I love owls. Owls just look amazing. They're majestic in their ways, and it's really cool. Okay, so the last one. The last one is my personal favorite of the three, the Thunderbird. So, The Thunderbird spans multiple indigenous tribes, and although the story may change between tribes, the main story of the creature stays consistent among them all. It is either like the savior or it is it's the pathway. Okay. So this is one cryptid creature that plays a balance role with another creature we did a long time ago, the Mishipeshu. Now the link is that these two creatures are in an eternal conflict with each other, as one rules the sky and the other one rules the waters. The main quote-unquote enemy of the Thunderbird centers around sea serpents and sea creatures. So this story originates from like the heaven and hell, the good versus evil, like the balance between the two. And what's interesting is that you can trace from different indigenous tribes, indigenous peoples, their version of the Thunderbird, because there's multiple versions. Like it's like either a large eagle, and I'll talk about that later. But the overall if I can talk, the overall story between the Thunderbird, of the Thunderbird, is that it acts as like this saving grace that's always in an eternal conflict with the sea serpents. And it's fascinating how it doesn't differ much when you're talking about tribes from the northern New York, and then going all the way to the western point of Canada into Washington State. The story differs just a slight little bit, but the essence and the bolt and the meat of the story stays the same. That's mind blowing, and I love that. See, the interesting fact about the Thunderbird are the glyphs that are found all along the eastern coastlines. The depiction of the story that is told within the glyphs are almost the same throughout thousands of miles. And that's fascinating. So the Thunderbird is a description, in this description, it's described as a giant bird which brings rain and lightning through its eyes. Although the story changes from provider to protector, the creature itself is seen as a savior. Also, it's important to note that the creature isn't depicted the same way across peoples, but almost always depicted as a massive predatory bird in the form of an eagle or hawk. One description resembles that of a phoenix, so it's kind of interesting thing where one cryptid creature blends into another, because they're describing a phoenix but calling it a thunderbird. And when you break down the essence of the bird itself, none of them are, from what I found, none of them are like these like gentle type birds. Like, you're not talking about a cardinal, a piping plover, things like that. They're talking about large predatory birds that are your saviors, that's your protectors, fighting against like the slimy, the underwater creatures of the oceans and the lakes. It's a wonderful thing to deep dive into. Like I could have spent like maybe 2 or 3 more hours just going into the small little intricacies about the Thunderbird and which, like, what changes over time. How are they depicted in totems? How are they depicted in glyphs? What changes in their art, because they're used in almost every type of imagery, and that's going way into like different realms of how it's used. Like, we're going into like art history and symbolism and theology and things like that. But the overall thing is the Thunderbird is an awesome story. and it needs to be told because it's a phenomenal tale of like good conquering over the evil, or the protector always protecting and bringing like this cleanse of the rain. I love it. So let's see. So as a whole, I out of the three, it has to be the Thunderbird. That's my favorite one. I do really enjoy the Ishkitini. I absolutely enjoyed that story, but the Thunderbird is one of those heavy hitters, because I was a little hesitant on giving Oklahoma the Thunderbird, mainly because it's seen between so many different indigenous peoples' lore and mythology that I don't think it was fair for one state to have them. But the fact that it's so prominent in so many different not even high level, but like more well-known indigenous tribes, like the Choctaw. Let's see, what was the other one that's in Oklahoma? The Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw Creek, Seminole. I think the Blackfoot too. I think I can't remember which ones. It was so prominent in so many different cultures that are in the states. I had to just give it to Oklahoma and give them the Thunderbird for this. But yeah, that's my favorite one. By far my favorite one. Yeah. So thank you all for listening to this episode of 50 States of Terror. I appreciate every single person that downloads the episode, listens to me talk for 15 to up to an hour sometimes. I'm thankful for still having a voice and getting to have this educational experience with everybody. If you haven't noticed, I did reclass the show as education, because I just wanted to get a little more people involved instead of it being for entertainment or for the arts. It is educational. You're learning about the state. You're learning about lore, about mythology. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I gotta say, I am severely appreciative of every single one of y'all out there. Love you all. Later. This has been an episode of 50 States of Terror, brought to you by your host, Anthony Diaz. You can find the show on Facebook and Instagram at 50 States of Terror. On Twitter, you can find the show at 50 States Terror, without the of, because of the character limitations. You can also find the show on TikTok, 50SOT Podcast. Email at the50sot@gmail.com. That's the 50SOT@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to support the show, please, you may at patreon.com/50 States of Terror. Thank you, and happy hunting. Later.